Hi classmates, we are going to tackle chapter 11, minimizing challenging behavior. Let's define challenging behavior first. Challenging behavior can happen to children with a variety of abilities in all kinds of settings in children's early experiences. As a member of the classroom, community serves as the foundation of which life. How challenging behavior is perceived. A person's behavior can be defined as challenging if it puts them or those around them at risk, or leads to a poor quality of life. It can also impact their ability to join everyday activities. What does PBIS mean? Positive Behavior Interventions and Support. Has important sites that challenging behaviors needs not always be considered for behavior reduction, but rather a behavior replacement. What is behavior replacement? Is the behavior you want students to exhibit in the place of the behavior you are trying to eliminate. The 3 steps intervention model for promoting positive replacement behaviors as a constructive approach to reducing challenging behavior are: 1. Assess the function of a problem behavior, and if it's feasible, alter conditions to allow the individuals access to the same or added reinforcing contingencies by means of a more acceptable action. 2. If that solution proves unworkable before proceeding, consult laws and policies within the respective school or program. 3. Select least restrictive method supported by REACH to promote optimal results. Now let's define constructive approach. Constructive approach addresses excessive behaviors aimed at supporting the learner through skill building and engineering of relevant environments, classrooms, school, home, and community. Constructional approaches such as PBIS advocate that behavioral repertoire not be eliminated but built upon through the development of enriched environment that are designed to promote the development of a new and appropriate behavior. PBIS demonstrate this concept rather well across all 3 tiers. 1. Primary is aimed at universally applying these principles across all students within the school. Secondary, these principles applied within the classroom, most notably paired with other notable practices such as response to intervention. Tertiary, for students with more significant support needs, the use of PBIS as a tertiary or individual level allows for more concentrated efforts to build effective and positive replacement behaviors for students. Examples of this challenging behavior are: 1. Aggression, self-harm. 2. Withdrawal behavior such as shyness, racking, staring, anxiety, school phobia, social isolation, or hand flopping. 3. Destructive behavior such as being out of seat, calling out in class, tantrums, swearing, screaming, or refusing to follow instructions. Positive behavioral interventions and supports has informed us that A. Human behavior is functional. People behave the way they do for a reason. B. Human behavior is predictable and directly related to the environments that children and youth are a part. C. Human behavior is changeable. Alternatives for prevention of challenging behavior. 1. Continuum of behavior. Supports model are universal interventions which consist of a school-wide system that encompasses individual classrooms and also directed at the primary prevention majority among students within a school who do not exhibit serious behavior problem, 80 to 90%. 2. Secondary prevention is target students who are identified as at risk and represent approximately 5 to 15% of the student population, focusing on preventing further problems for those students and to provide a model support that is aimed in skills building and prevention. 3. Tertiary prevention, which is designed for students with chronic and ongoing behavior challenge that require specialized intervention developed for individual students. Steps in developing comprehensive system support within school setting. 1. School must commit to change like their A. Philosophy of practice, B. Behavior support strategies, C. Program evaluation. Number 2. Stepwise systematic implementation of a system model of behavior support under school-wide positive behavior intervention and support, or SWPBIS. 3. Evaluation of these procedures and their impact on school-wide behavior outcome. Minimizing challenging behavior. When PBIS implemented across all 3 tiers is focused on prevention. 1. At the primary level through the practice and reinforce of core elements with SWPBIS model. Secondary level, more deliberately interventions ensure direct toward remediation. Tertiary level, more intense and individualized behavioral support are designed and implemented. Continuum of intervention alternatives is designed to help schools create an environment both in class and in school that will provide options for those students who have difficulty managing their behavior. Alternative intervention, or AIP, is not a big event, but rather a process leading to improved mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health of the family. The continuum of intervention alternatives that we will examine includes differential reinforcement procedures, extinction, response cost, timeout procedures. With the exception of differential reinforcement, the remainder of these methods are not regularly found within the school settings, ascribing to a PBIS model, which is important to briefly understand them as you will encounter them in the literature of the field. Differential reinforcement procedures. To increase desired behavior in the absence of challenging behavior, this form is called positive reduction procedure by Copper and Heron and Howard, 2007. There are 4 distinct types of differential reinforcement procedures: alternative behavior, incompatible behavior, other behavior, lower rates of behavior. Alternative behavior are desirable, acceptable that can achieve the same outcome as a less desirable problem behavior, are not usually long-term plans. This basically means that the undesirable behavior on extinction while simultaneously giving reinforcement to an appropriate behavior. Example of alternative behavior. A child has a problem behavior of mounting non-food items like toys, pennies, and finger, etc. to gain sensory stimulation. Every time a child attempts to place a non-food item on her mouth, you block this behavior and redirect her to a sensory chewy toy. The child places the device on her mouth, you provide verbal praises. Incompatible behavior is a procedure in which the teacher would identify a behavior that's incompatible with or cannot occur at the same time, as it provides children with choices of what they can do to help strengthen a decision-making and critical thinking skills. Example, a child who demands food from his parents. Each time the child makes a demand, the parents will ignore it. Other behavior involves rewarding the child when the inappropriate behavior does not occur during a specific amount of time. Example is a child who repeatedly leaves his/her seat during dinner time. Lower rate behavior is a technique in which a positive reinforcer is delivered at the end of a specific interval has occurred at a criterion rate. Traditionally, it has been used in educational settings to manage classroom behavior. These are the examples of the said behaviors in the first slide. The limitation of response cost procedure. This reductive method has been shown to be effective with students with ADHD who often never get enough points for positive. Response cost is a term for removing reinforcement for undesirable or disruptive behavior. You decrease the likelihood that the target behavior will appear again. It is often used with the token economy and is best used when student understands the implications. Timeout. Timeout is a procedure commonly used to remove a child from access to reinforcement for a period of time. Exclusionary timeout refers to the student being taken out of the room. The second form of time is called non-exclusionary timeout, which involves the student remaining in the room or area where the behavior occurred but being denied access to positive reinforcement. Timeout procedure requires strict adherence to policies within the school and permission of the families. As with any behavior reduction procedure, it should not be the first intervention of choice and care be taken in the development guidelines. This includes the following. Timeout is lost from instruction. The learner loses valuable time for that reason. Timeout is not universally effective among learners. Timeout represents a negative contingency which removes the learner from reinforcing environment. The lack of procedural safeguard and legal liabilities with school age and youth. The potential abuse exists because timeout is easily used and can be overused. The generalized suppression of the behavior can occur when the administration of the timeout procedure are not clear and consistent.